Oh, here goes, and welcome to the 201st episode of Throwback Hoops. Woody V is on the mic. Please follow the show on YouTube and wherever you listen to your podcast. And as always, I'm joined by my main man, Robbie Clayton.
What's up, brother? Good to be back. Not quite as that milestone that last week was with the 200th episode, but really appreciate everyone's feedback. We had a lot of people get in touch with us last week and congratulate us and say they like all those tribute videos and all those sort of things. So that was pretty cool. And ready for episode 201.
Yeah, I got to say, one of my favorite moments in doing this with you is getting all the feedback and the testimonials, and thanks to Sid, really appreciate him collaborating with us on that episode.
And we should say as well, Woods, we actually kept it a secret with those tribute videos, so you actually hadn't seen them and you actually played them when I'd published and put on YouTube. How stoked were you when you saw the Cal Bruton one?
Couldn't believe it, man. Thank you, Cal. Cool. Thanks to everyone, right? But just to see that Cal one was amazing. And a nice touch putting it at the very end there. Yeah,
of course. Had to have Emily first and had Cal last.
Yeah,
right? So,
for sure. Sure. So let's take it away, man. What jersey have you got for us today?
Well, it's definitely not one you're going to pick today when you see it, I guarantee you. It's I thought I had a random one last week in James Ennis. This one's probably about as random as well, so I'll show you who I'm rocking.
And for those who can't see, Robbie is standing up right now wearing the Minnesota Timberwolves Rashad McCants jersey. Rashad McCants. And just another player that's been hit with the Kardashian curse, bro.
True. There's been a few of them, hasn't it? This is random. Did you know I had this one?
No, I don't think so, but I was a big fan of him coming out of college and just really sad to see that. I mean, not really sad, but unexpected that his career didn't pan out the way I thought it would, right?
No, absolutely. Well, let me tell you a little bit about Rashad McCants. So it's a blue Adidas Minnesota T-Wolves jersey. Very brief 4-year career, Woods. So he was drafted out of North Carolina by the Wolves at pick 14 in the 05 NBA draft. Played with the Wolves and Kings, and that's it. So the 6'4" shooting guard then bounced around the world and just never found his way back to the NBA, which was a real surprise given he averaged 15 points per game in his third NBA season. It looked like he was going to be a really handy player. So, from what you hear, there was probably maybe moments off the court and attitude and things like that contributed to it. So still only 41 years of age. He's probably more known for his Big Three career. So he won a title and also a championship MVP with Trilogy. I've watched a lot of that Big Three, Woods, and he is perfect in this format, right? He's just a strong guy. Plays really hard defense, gets after it. Geez, he's an interesting guy. He's very fiery on the court. He's now a podcaster like us. He's also an advocate for mental health, which is pretty cool. He's also an author, so he's certainly keeping busy in his NBA and professional career retirement there. But thought I'd show a random one. I've had this one sitting for a while. I thought I had to show this for Rashad McCants. But what are your memories of that brief career that he had?
I'll tell you one memory I have. Me and my wife watching one of the earliest seasons of the Kardashians, right? And Rashad McCants was dating Khloe Kardashian at the time, and he just happened to leave his BlackBerry sitting there and just nicked off somewhere. It was unlocked, and Khloe played some voice messages that was on his BlackBerry loud, so the whole audience could hear. And there were some slightly inappropriate messages from some females on that BlackBerry, right?
Hey, Woods, for our younger audience, explain what a BlackBerry is.
So before the smartphone, the BlackBerry was used to access emails. Back then, it was the smartphone before the smartphone.
So they were expensive, weren't they? Like, it was really only kind of businessman type that had them back in the day, right? But they were pretty cool, weren't they?
Yeah. Rashad McCants had one. So anyway, but I remember that, at North Carolina, just, really, really promising college career. And when he came to the NBA, big things were expected from him. And a 4-year career is just underwhelming. But
crazy, especially when you're averaging 15 points a game in your third season out of those 4 years. So, no joke, I watched a lot of that Big Three. It's quite hard to watch these days. I don't have it on Foxtel like I used to, which is a real shame. But he would pretty much get in a scuffle, if not every game, every second game. It was I sort of like those guys with a bit of that energy like that. So he was good. I like the way he played, went very hard at it. And look, it's a shame that, his NBA career never worked out. But I like sort of, talking about some of these guys. I'm sure there's a lot of people that are like, who is Rashad McCants? Well, now we've told his story a little bit, right? And, you've got to pull out some of these random jerseys. Nice looking jersey, this one too. Minnesota's kind of gone back to this one this year, haven't they? With the green around the sleeve and stuff. Always a classic jersey, right? This one that they're wearing here. So, Rashad McCants this week.
Thanks, Robbie. And what card do you have for us this week?
Okay, so I'm taking it way back this week, Woods. It's probably my oldest card I've got now. So for those that know, I like to collect rookie cards in the PSA graded format, right? So I've been getting quite a few of those, and this is the oldest one I've got. It's a 1969 Lou Hudson Atlanta Hawks Topps rookie card. Now, the fun thing about this, Woods, well, firstly I should say it's a graded 4, right? So 4 is considered very good to excellent. So not bad for a 57-year-old card. But look at the size of this thing. So these are massive cards. I don't have one to sort of compare in size there. But yeah, I mean, look, a normal one's probably about the size of my phone, right? So you see the phone next to that. It's a huge card. Really nice looking card too. And pretty good condition for a card that old, right? Pretty random on the back. They have a few little funny stats and everything else like that. But yeah, I mean, for those that don't know, he's one of the few Atlanta Hawks retired jerseys. We saw his jersey in the rafters a few years ago, and I kind of did my homework then. Oh, who is this Lou Hudson guy? We obviously knew about Bob Pettit. We knew about Pistol Pete Maravich, but Lou Hudson was kind of that third of the older guys that maybe we didn't know a lot about. So I'll tell a little bit about him and just another look at that card. Isn't that a cool looking card? Like,
Yeah, and Robbie, just sorry if you mentioned, but what year was that card?
1969.
1969.
So, yeah, super old. So it's the oldest card I've got for. It's the biggest card I've got, and it's the oldest card I've got. So and it wasn't actually too expensive. I was looking at some of those older ones. I'd like to get a Bob Pettit one. That'd be cool. But I thought I'd tell a little bit of a story on Lou Hudson as well. Woods, maybe for again, if people don't know Rashad McCants, they're probably not going to know someone that's was playing in the 50s or the 60s there. But yeah, he was born in 1944 in Greensboro, North Carolina. Passed away at age 69 in 2014. He was a 6'5", 95 kilo swingman. Went to college in Minnesota. So he was drafted by the then St. Louis Hawks at pick 4 in the 1966 draft. And he had a 14-year career. Basically, 13 of those years were with St. Louis/Atlanta. He finished off his career with the Lakers with a couple of years. So, pretty good resume, Woods. He was a 6-time All-Star. He was an All-NBA second-team member once. He was an All-NBA rookie first team. He's got that number 23 retired by the Hawks, and also had his college jersey retired by Minnesota as well. Took him a long time to get into the Hall of Fame. He was someone that Dominique used to come out and say, I can't believe this guy's not in the Hall of Fame. So in 2022, obviously he'd been passed away for many a year then, he got named into the Naismith Hall of Fame, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, I thought I'd just show a bit of a tribute to one of our Hawks legends. Like I said, someone whose jersey we've seen hanging in the rafters, the pretty cool looking 23, and that old school, the Hawks have worn a bit of a throwback to that one year, haven't they? So the old 23, and what a great card, right? Loving the old thing there.
Yeah, and one thing worth mentioning, Robbie, is that period he played in, that 60s, right? Even into the 70s, right? It was a bit of an unwritten rule in the NBA, right? Certain amount of white players had to be on every team. And he had to thrive in an environment that wasn't easy for him to coexist in, right?
Yeah.
So you got to give him a lot of credit for those accolades.
100%. He had an interesting post-career as well. Apparently he moved to Salt Lake City and he was in local council. He ran car yards there and this sort of stuff. And yeah, it was quite the businessman in his later life there. So yeah, a bit of a throwback. Rashad McCants and Lou Hudson. Couldn't be any more sort of different extremes of those two guys. But why don't you show us that amazing jersey you're wearing today?
For sure, man. And I think you did wear a jersey of this player that I'm about to showcase. When we had our good friend Mookie on the show as a guest.
Yeah,
right?
that's true. So that was a long time ago, wasn't it?
A long time ago. I don't think I don't know if it was the same one as this, but let me just stand up quickly.
Sure. So what are you standing up rocking? The classic Mookie Blaylock, number 10, Atlanta Hawks jersey. Yeah, it was the same one. I've got to say, Woods, my one that I had back when I was younger, I used to sleep in that jersey, right? So it used to get washed, 5 times a week, and it does not look as good condition as yours. So show me the ball at the bottom there. Show me the ball that the Hawks holding. Yeah, that's perfect. My one's like a completely different colour. It's been washed too much. But yeah, it's a classic jersey, that one.
I don't think I've worn this many times at all.
Yeah, nice,
right?
nice.
So I know you've given his bio on this show. We've pulled this card so many times.
Darren O'Shea Blaylock, right?
So many times. So I thought I'd give you some fun stats about Mookie. He led the NBA in steals 2 consecutive seasons, 1996-97 and 1997-8, joining 3 other players to achieve that feat. Or actually, 4 other players to achieve that feat. Who are they?
So 4 other players that have led the league in steals twice.
2 consecutive seasons in a row.
Consecutive seasons was going to be tough. Did John Stockton do it?
Nope.
Alvin Robertson must have done it.
1.
Alvin Robertson.
Recently
Jordan?
retired. Recently retired and recently much maligned in Australia.
Good old Allen Iverson.
Yep.
Yeah. Did Jordan do it?
No.
So what is it, 2 more?
Yep, recently, 2 of the greatest point guards of all time. One of them you don't like at all. The other one is just
another one that retired this week, right? And Chris Paul.
Yep.
The other one I don't like either.
No, the other one you like a lot.
Oh, I do. Okay.
Yep.
Russell Westbrook.
Lakers.
Oh, Magic Johnson.
Yeah,
of course.
All right,
of course.
so that's
nice.
awesome. It puts Mookie Blaylock in some rare territory there, right? With those other names, right?
100%.
Okay. Now, Robbie, he also led the NBA in three-point attempts and finished second in three-pointers made in the 1996-97 season, right? Now, in the season before that, the 95-96 season, he broke the Atlanta Hawks single-season franchise record for three-pointers made, 230, and attempted 623. So when you think about that, he played 80 games. He's making, 3 three-pointers a game and attempting 9 back in 1995-96. That's a very interesting stat, right?
100%. I mean, for those that aren't aware, that the game was very different back in the 90s, very different to what it was now. It was a post-first offense that a lot of teams ran. It was an inside-out type offense. But, yeah, he was someone that was so quick up the court and kind of revolutionised the game. I remember those seasons for the Hawks as well. They were playing a different style to other teams, and he was a pretty handy shooter, wasn't he?
Yeah, 9 three-pointers a game attempted in that era is just incredible, right? And the final stat I'm going to give you is he's the Atlanta Hawks all-time franchise leader in steals as well, man. So I think that record could be in a bit of danger. Am I right in saying that?
It could be if our Aussie stays on the team for a while, with the amount that he's putting up steals. Last season he was over 3 a game. He's a bit less this year. But, if Dyson ends up having a long career, that, could come into jeopardy. That one, I've got to say, Mookie Blaylock Woods, you don't hear much about him. When was the last time you saw him, shown at a game or something else like that? He's definitely someone that's out of the spotlight, I think, isn't he?
Obviously, with a lot of his off-court issues, we won't go into too much. He's had some problems, right?
Yeah.
But he, since he's been released from prison in 2014, by all reports, he's living a quiet, happy, sober existence. So.
And so remind me, did he play college with Ricky Grace, right, at Oklahoma?
I think he did, right? Because he was at Oklahoma in 87, I'm going to say.
I think he might have been like the senior, then Ricky Grace was kind of the younger guy on the team, if I'm not mistaken with that fact there. But, imagine that sort of backcourt in practice there. 2 guys that could, steal the hubcaps off a moving car, right? As they used to say.
Yeah, that's right. So he was the 12th overall pick in the first round of the 89 draft. So, yes, that's...
Traded for Ramil Robinson, was it?
Correct.
Yeah, I think we did better out of that trade, didn't we?
We sure did. Okay, well, thanks, Robbie. I know I haven't got a chance to put up our jerseys and cards from last week. I will be doing that after this show, yeah?
Nice one. Sounds good.
Thanks for that, Robbie. Okay, so let's move on. Now, I want to just talk about the new All-Star weekend that we just witnessed, right? The format changed a little bit. Before I just want to break it down in terms of event by event, but let me just get you an overall feel and vibe on the few days, man. Did you enjoy it?
I did. There was definitely a few bits that I weren't a big fan of. Look, I did enjoy the game format better. I've sort of watched 3/4 of the game. I haven't watched the last game, which was kind of the blowout game of the 4. But let's maybe talk about each one. But I think all in all, it was okay. A few things that we'll speak about that do need some work for sure.
For sure. So thanks, Robbie. So let's start with the Rising Stars game. So what happened is, Robbie, the night before the game, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar came and spoke to all the players that were playing the Rising Stars games, right? Right? And he was talking about his personal journey to get to the NBA, what he went through. He talked about his friendship with Bruce Lee, he directly spoke to the players about how using an event like the All-Star Weekend can be a springboard to push their brand forward, right?
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if Vijay Edgecombe was inspired by Kareem or not, but he took the game seriously, right? And he won the MVP for Vince Carter's team.
Yeah.
He clinched the final with 2 free throws to get his team to the target score of 25, edging out Carmelo Anthony's team. And earlier in the semi-final game, he also scored the final 10 points to help defeat the team selected by Tracy McGrady, finishing with 17 of his team's 41 points. So did you get a chance to watch that game? And nice to see some of the players taking some inspiration potentially from the great Kareem and also taking the game seriously.
True. Yeah, I did watch them. I always enjoy this sort of game. I didn't think it reached any amazing heights there. It was fun to watch. It was fun to see some of these young guys. Obviously, shame we couldn't have seen Cooper Flag out there. That would have been pretty cool. One thing I will say, Woods, I had it saved on my Foxtel IQ. I'm a dinosaur that still has these sort of things. And when it's saved in there, I realised I had the last 3 years of these Rising Stars going on there, right? And I thought, that's pretty cool. So I put on the first one, which I think was like 2021. It's amazing just looking at one that was 4 years ago. And that 2021 had Tyrese Halliburton and Ant Edwards and these sort of guys. It was actually pretty cool watching that. It's like, wow, these guys are all pretty much household names now. So it'd be interesting to do this exercise in another 4 years from now and look at some of these guys that were playing in this game. Will they be guys that eventually have all-star careers and everything? So that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was fine. Yeah, that's probably the best way I could describe it. It was better than the celebrity game. I know we probably don't even need to chat about that. I mean, I don't even know who half those people were. It was funny to see Taco Fall running around out there, but yeah, the rest of those guys, I literally had to look in Wikipedia a few times and looked them up. Still don't know who they are. But yeah, what were your thoughts on the Rising Stars game?
Yeah, I enjoyed it, and to your point, look, it's not nothing to set the world on fire with, but it's okay.
It's fun,
it's nice to see them play, and they took it seriously, and it was a bit of fun. So
it's funny to see Vince and T-Max sort of having some laughs on the sideline and stuff. Man, Vince Carter was all over this All-Star weekend too, wasn't he? He was at every event doing stuff.
And look, doing introductions to various events, and on the court they were doing emceeing duties at times, right? So
hey, what did you think of Ludacris coming out wearing that Dominique jersey? That was so cool, right?
Just about to come out. I had Ludacris on the run sheet,
stand up and act the fool and those other cool things. I was loving that.
That was probably the second best event of the night, right?
Yeah, there's probably people watching it like, oh, that's that guy from Fast and Furious. Well, no, before Fast and Furious, and he still is a great rapper from Atlanta. So cool.
Loved his outfit, man. Loved his outfit. Okay, so let's move on to the three-point shootout. So Damian Lillard, a man who has not set foot on an NBA court all season, but we all love him, right? He won the three-point contest. Is that his third in the last four years, maybe? Right?
Yeah, maybe third and five, maybe.
Third and five, maybe, right? And it's consistently become the best part of the All-Star night, right? The Saturday night. It has the biggest names. It has drama, and look, it delivered again this year. In fact, Devin Booker had to miss his final 3 shots, giving Lillard the three-point contest away, basically, because all he had to do was knock down one of those, right? And that was it. So, what were your thoughts on it? I know you love this event, being a shooter yourself, so talk to me, brother.
Absolutely loved it, yeah. I mean, three-pointers is the only thing I still half can do, and I can't do that very well these days, but love the three-point comp. Like you said, the star power is the main thing that stands here. A lot of these guys were playing in the All-Star game. Probably the only slightly weird selection was maybe the Bobby Portis one was a bit random, but he's shooting a decent percentage. Funny to see his crazy eyes as well, but it was great. Con Knippel came out and set the scene there with a really solid first round score, and Booker was really good with Dame getting into the final. A few guys were a little bit disappointing.
Jamal Murray was disappointing.
Yeah, Jamal Murray couldn't quite hit him, and a lot of them were struggling with that logo shot, right? So I was watching with my daughter as always. I think we've watched every year, Woods, when she first started liking Buddy, when she was about 3 years old, but I was saying they've got to slow down on that logo shot. Just take a little bit more time, take that extra dribble and follow through a bit more. They were rushing that, and that was an important shot, right? So worth 3 points. So probably as a traditionalist, I like the original format where you just had the money ball on each rack rather than the whole money ball racks and that. But I don't mind it. They're all sort of going under the same rules. But yeah, really fun event. I mean, I was riding every one of those last 3 shots of Devin Booker. Like, come on, I couldn't believe he missed all 3, and that was his preferred spot with the money balls as well. So yeah, really good event. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and that's such a fun part of the NBA calendar, the three-point shootout, right? And
wouldn't it be fun to do? Wouldn't we love to get up to Local Hills Stadium and have all the racks set up and play that? I'd love if they did a three-point comp. That'd be cool.
That'd be sick, man. And let's see. Hope we can get one in the NBL soon, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
All right, so then we move to the Shooting Stars competition, which was one that hasn't been around for a while. So the format here is generally 2 existing players and a ex-player. And then this year they introduced a passer, right? And there was various different spots that the players had to make shots from. Now, all the teams had celebrity passers, but the eventual winning team, the Knicks team, which was Jalen Brunson, Karl Anthony Towns, Allen Houston looking fit as a fiddle, right? And then Rick Brunson as the passer, right?
Shout out to Adelaide 36ers import in the 90s, yeah.
And they won it in the end. What do you think of this event? And what do you think of Corey Maggette and Allen Houston and those guys looking fit, and still,
honestly,
still can do it?
I wanted to enjoy this event a bit more. I think a couple of the players are a bit underwhelming. Some of the old guys were struggling a little bit at first. Interesting as well that this replaced the, what do they call it, the skills skills one, which I didn't mind that, where they're having to run and throw balls, through everything. They brought this one back. I don't know why they couldn't do both. I think there's room to have both there. Look, I like the way they did the teams. It was pretty cool seeing that, the two Harper brothers and the legend Ron Harper playing there and everything like that. But it was fine. I mean, I was hoping Jalen Johnson's team were going to win. But, yeah, you mentioned the old guys. I mean, Alan Houston started off a bit quiet, looked good late. And like you said, he hasn't aged much, has he, Alan Houston? But, yeah, it was probably the most impressive one was Corey, Don't Call Me Exhibit McGetty right at the end. So, yeah, he caught fire with those. And they weren't half-court shots like we've seen before, were they? They were sort of logo threes, right?
Yeah.
So, but, yeah, that was pretty cool. And they were worth 7 points or something like that, I think. So if you made a few of them, you were a chance. But it was fun. Jalen Brunson and Rick Brunson's always pretty funny to see those two. They're sort of giving each other, stick and stuff like that. But it was fine. Like, I didn't like it maybe as much as I was still pretty cool. And I'm sure, maybe they'll continue to do that. And good to see that they're getting other players involved. I know when they've done it before, they've liked to... Remember they had a WNBA player actually. I wouldn't mind seeing them do that. So maybe...
Timsy was in one, remember? She was telling us when she was on the show, right?
That's right, yeah. I wonder how you could do it. Whether you do... I don't know, but anyway, they could find a way to sort of get a WNBA, either a current player or a legend in there. That'd be pretty nice if they did that. The celebrity thing was a bit random sort of thing, but they weren't too bad with their passing. Anthony Anderson and these sort of guys were okay.
You got to make it fair, though. How can you make it an NBA coach who's just throwing passes into the shooter's pocket in practice every day? Every
pass that Rick Brunson did was on the money, 100%. Yeah.
So it's a bit unfair. I really enjoyed the event, but the feedback online and from the media was a disappointment.
Yeah, people weren't loving it, were they?
They were not loving it, right?
Is that a good segue to the next event?
It is. So, I don't know, man. Okay, let's talk about it. I guess the best dunk of the night was one from Carter Bryant. That got 50s across the board. But I guess Rashad Johnson, some of these guys, man, had you watched Rashad Johnson play before?
No, never heard of the bloke. I've got to say in my notes, Wood, next to dunk, I've just got yuck in capital letters written there. Was that the only 50, that one that...
Yeah, but he didn't win the tournament though.
No, he did. He struggled to, he was running out of time and had to throw down a pretty regulation dunk. But look, it was pretty underwhelming. I've heard of, a few people saying, look, it wasn't that bad there. But at the end of the day, you've got to have star power in these events. We've said it before. We talk about all those great players back in the day that would go in dunk comps, and if you're talking about guys now that even sicko NBA fans like us know nothing about, right? Look, shout out to that Rashad Johnson guy. He had some pretty good character and personality. He came out, he was showing his six-pack, lifting up his shirt, he had that big smile on his face. So I like that he came out.
And he brought out E40 Fonzarelli.
Yeah, that was pretty cool, yeah. Mate, Jace Richardson, firstly, I didn't realise he was so short, but he tried to do that dad that he's dunked in, and it was so underwhelming. He barely got over the ring to do it. I was like, ooh, is this the start of this? And so talk to me about the Jackson Hayes dunk. Some people are calling it the worst dunk of all time, right?
I mean... I actually turned it off after a while. I'm going to be completely honest with you. And then I read later on, this is the worst dunk of all time, and I didn't even go watch it. I'm like, I'm not wasting my time watching this, right? I will say that what's the point getting rid of the skills and keeping this, right? Can you?
Well, I mean, it's just tradition and stuff, I guess. I mean, I like to collect my cards, which actually, after the dunk comp finished, I thought, I wonder if there's any Rashad Johnson cards on there. And there was about 8, right? Pretty decent cards. And I thought, I'm just going to add them to my watch list, right? 2 hours later, I checked, all of them have been sold, which is pretty crazy, right? So, a day before, we wouldn't have been able to give those things away. But I want to ask you a bit of an impromptu thing. Jalen Johnson, they asked him in an interview, kind of coaxed him into it, but he said he'd like to go on the event. I want you to give me 3 names of guys you would like to see, and let's come up with some star power. Maybe I'll start it off, and you could do 2. Anthony Edwards would be one that I'd love to see there, right? Give me 2 other names. Who's someone that you'd like to see there?
Let's have a look. What about LeBron James late in his career?
We might have missed the boat with that, but he could still get up and do it. Maybe get his son to come, but who else? I'm thinking of someone from San Antonio that you like, and you got his jersey.
Stefan Castle. He's already done it, though.
Oh, yeah, he did last year, didn't he? But he wasn't known then, was he, I suppose? Yeah, that's a good call. So he was a big name. Okay, you got me with that one. All right, give me 2 other names.
Ace Bailey?
Well, let's maybe think above those sort of guys. What about some of the guys that we saw in that actual All-Star weekend? I mean, Jalen Johnson and Ant Edwards. Let's try and think of 2 more. Who's someone that you think could be exciting doing it?
Who would be willing to?
I mean, Wemby would be hilarious if he went in and right, but I don't see that happening. It doesn't look quite the same with the little guys.
Brandon Ingram?
maybe. I'm trying to think if there's any little guys. You know, the really springy little guys always look good back in the day. I don't know. I just want some star power out there.
Like Fox?
Yeah, he's someone that could do it. I think he did go in dunk comps in college as well, from memory. So, yeah.
Donovan Mitchell?
Yep, he's been in it before, but yeah, he's certainly more of a name. All right, that's 4 good names there. I mean, imagine that dunk comp going in if we said, all right, it's Jalen Johnson, Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, and Ant Edwards, all guys that were featuring in that All-Star weekend. Wouldn't that have a lot more buzz? And I feel like even if those dunks weren't maybe as good, they're still not going to get laughed at as much because you're seeing a not great dunk from someone you don't know. You're like, what is this?
That's wishful thinking for me, thinking LeBron James at 41 or 42 would go in the dunk contest.
Let's get Bronny there instead, maybe. Yeah. And what about Mac McClung? He actually came out to show the dunks that he would have done. Did you see those dunks?
Yeah, I didn't see it, but I heard about it. Yeah.
He did one where someone was standing on a ladder holding the ball in front of the rim, and Mac jumped up, grabbed the ball from the rim, brought it down almost to his waist, and then did like an over-the-head reverse. Like, it would have been a 50... 100 people could have seen that dunk and given him a 50. So he would have clearly won it again if he'd gone in it. But I think shout out to him. He wants to almost be a bit more respected as a player and not just a dunker, which he's trying hard. He's turned down some big deals in Europe apparently to try that G League path there. But full credit to him. But I wouldn't have minded seeing him go in and being, getting another title to his name, man.
Yeah, and I mean, he was sort of bringing a little interest back to it over the last few years.
Yeah.
But it was him. You got to change it up. People want new experiences. So I think getting the star power is going to be ideal. Jace Richardson as well, just quickly. Did you see the dangerous dunk when he hit his head on the...
that was a bit scary, wasn't it?
That was really scary for a second, right?
100%. Yeah, look, it wasn't great, was it? I mean, maybe Jackson Hayes goes into the Chris Birdman Anderson category there of some of the worst people we've seen in dunk comps. I know John Collins copped some flack for doing a pretty random plane type dunk back in the day, but they need to do something about it, Woods. It's just, it's not that marquee event of All-Star Saturday anymore. It's clearly a three-point comp, and I think it's fast becoming less than the other games. But, maybe try and make some changes to that. Try and get some big name guys. Make some sort of incentive for these guys to come in. Like, wouldn't Ant Edwards be good, right? We've seen those guys. He's a great game dunker.
Yeah, he would be great, man. And people would tune in, right? Like we don't. You said we don't even know who half of these contestants are, right? You had to look them up twice, right?
100%. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the All-Star game then. Shall we move on to that? Now, this was definitely the highlight, right? So we had 3 teams, Robbie. We had the World team, the USA Stripes, which are the so-called veterans, although there were a couple of young bucks on that team, right? And then we had the USA Stars, right? So they were all one-quarter games, 47 to... the Stars played the World, and in the first game, 37 to 35. The Stripes
in overtime.
In overtime. Yep. The Stripes played the Stars in the second game, 42 to 40. Right.
The Kawhi Leonard game.
The Kawhi Leonard game, and then the Stripes beat the World 48 to 45, much to the dismay of Victor Wembanyama.
Yeah.
And then the final was very one-sided with the Stars taking down the Stripes. So firstly, let's start with Victor Wembanyama coming out there on the court and setting the tone for everyone by taking the game seriously. Straight away, everyone else, and Ant Edwards spoke about it in interviews over and over again. As soon as Wemby came out and started playing like that, we all followed suit. So talk to me about that.
He scored the first 5 points that first game. He had some crazy blocks where he's just coming from nowhere. He did a volleyball spike type block on someone there. He needs to rub off some of that enthusiasm that he had on guys like the Joker and Luka Doncic, because they're still the guys that they didn't look interested at all, did they? Look, I know they've both had some injuries lately, but you've got to maybe have a little bit more pride. My original pick when I saw this format, I thought, this international team will win. We know they had guys like SGA, unavailable due to injury there, but I'd like to see those guys bring a little bit more. And maybe at this stage, that is who these guys are. They're not going to sort of come out and play serious in a game that's not meaningful there. But yeah, full credit for Wemby. He looked disappointed when they lost as well, which was pretty cool. Maybe that's just the youth on him. Maybe in a few years he'll be doing the same as the other guys. But I've got to say, Woods, from a Hawks fan point of view, it was almost like a proud father seeing Jalen Johnson out there. As soon as he got his first shot, he did that big dunk on the break. It was a really cool cool moment to see that, and all his family were there watching stuff. So that was awesome. I'd love to get one of those Jalen Johnson All-Star jerseys as well.
Yeah.
I've had a look around. They're pretty hard to find. If you can find them, they're crazy amounts of money. So I might have to maybe do some saving and get one of them eventually.
Yeah, I'd love an All-Star jersey. I don't have many of those. You've got quite a few, right?
I've got a few, yeah. But look, all in all, I liked it, right? I think it was an improvement. I didn't mind the 12-minute games things. You can watch it, and they went pretty quick. They weren't... Do you remember last year when they did it, they were having these massive breaks in between games, and it was a bit hard to follow. Maybe that last game, there was a bit of fatigue creeping in. There's a few sort of, not as many breaks in between games, but I liked it. I'd like to see them maybe stick with it as well. We seem like they're changing it every year now. Last year was a weird format that I don't quite get. And they've done that Elam ending thing before as well, but I didn't mind it. I think the feedback's been pretty decent, right? Are you hearing that?
Yeah, the feedback's been great, right? Especially around the main game and the 3-point contest, right?
Yeah.
Everything else has been sort of had some negative.
Hey, the stadium looked cool too, didn't it? The Intuit Dome, the Clippers' new stadium. So yeah, it was cool. Yeah, Inglewood's up to no good, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. And and Kawhi Leonard just quickly on him, man. Dude, that was the highlight of the night for me, man. Watching him just go to work, right?
Mate, they tried about 3 different defenders on him. He's having quite a special year, isn't he? He's missed 13 games. Isn't much for him. They're saying if he hadn't missed those, he might maybe be in that conversation for top 4 MVP voting. I'm saying, who knows? If he can finish the season strong, you never know, right? Because I think Joker's maybe going to be close to being out of contention. Who knows? If SGA ends up staying out longer, he might win like MVP on default. Imagine that. Kawhi Leonard playing 70-plus games and winning MVP in 2026.
Yeah, well, I mean, that health is just unbelievable. What do you say? Missed 13 games so far?
I think so. Yeah.
Amazing, right? All right. Thanks, Robbie. All right, so finally, just before we move on to some NBL stuff, why don't you give the audience a little bit of an update on our NBA wins draft at the All-Star break?
Yeah, 100%. So for those that will remember, we did an NBA wins draft. We've done it the last couple of seasons now. And, essentially we just did a draft. Woody had the first pick this year, and I let him have OKC, which was only fair because I had him last year. So I've calculated at the All-Star break, for those that, aren't aware, the All-Star break isn't the halfway mark of the season. It's over that sort of mark, quite a bit over actually. But yeah, essentially we had 15 teams each. I guess I'll just give a quick good and bad for what we picked here, Wood. So, my first 3 picks were Houston, New York, which were good. The Clippers, which was bad when we did this last time, but they've won quite a few more since last time. And then I had Atlanta, Minnesota. The big ones for me, my 9th pick, Woods, was Detroit, and my 10th pick was San Antonio. So probably when you hear that, you might realise who's winning this wins draft so far. Yeah. You had OKC, you had Denver second, so pretty good there. You had Golden State third, Cleveland fourth. So Cleveland's record's a bit better than what you think. They've won 34. Golden State 29 wins is not amazing there. You've had some decent ones. Like you picked Philadelphia and they've had 30 wins, but you also had Dallas ahead of them who has had 19 wins. So, in fact, I'd say Dallas is your worst pick. Your best pick, look, you had Portland pretty late. They've had 27 wins. And your very best one was you had Charlotte with the second last pick of the whole draft. No, the last pick, wasn't it? The very last pick of the draft, and they've won 26 games. So you're getting great value from them. I had Utah at my last pick. So all in all, so far at the All-Star break, your teams have added up for 394 wins. I'm at 425. So it's, 31 difference so far. So, look, it's not a massive difference. I say it might be hard for you to, catch me with a 31 lead, but you never know. All it takes is one of your teams to go on a win streak. Let's say Golden State go on a big win streak or something like that.
Or Charlotte keep winning.
Exactly. But, look, the big one for me was getting Detroit and San Antonio. I mean, they were, so I got Detroit with the... in the 14th pick, I had Detroit. They've now got the best record in the NBA. And I had San Antonio at pick 16, and they've got, the third best record in the NBA, I think it is now. So pretty crazy value there. Yeah, probably the Dallas Mavericks is the one you can be a bit annoyed at there, Wood. So you were very high on the Mavericks. You had them in pretty high, and they've let you down. But you never know. There's still time to go, right?
Yeah, for sure, man. Thanks
it's
for that, Robbie.
It's fun to do that, right? We'll continue doing this each year. Maybe next year, I know it's not as big a draft. Maybe we could do an NBL one as well, just sort of a bit of a fun exercise, right?
Yeah, for sure, Robbie.
I'll take Perth, you take Sydney. Right?
For sure, man.
We're going to do that, yeah.
All right, speaking of the NBL, let's move on to some NBL discussion now. So I had a little exercise for you today. I want to go through, let me bring up the ladder. A couple of things I want to go through with you, right? For starters, I want to talk about the coaching situation in the NBL at the moment, right? Because I think this season we're going to see a high turnover in coaches. Now, a lot of these coaches are under contract, but that doesn't make a difference in basketball. You know that, right?
Yeah.
There can always be some sort of mutually beneficial decision made, or whatever they call it these days, right?
Yeah.
So my question to you is, I want to go through the teams in the NBL and go through the coaching situation and ask you, yes or no, will the coach stay, and your reasons behind it. All right?
Yeah.
So let's start with the Sydney Kings. Brian Goorjian.
I think he's got that job for as long as he wants.
Yep.
For those that are AFL fans, they will remember back in the day when Mick Malthouse was the long-term coach, and he had Nathan Buckley as an assistant coach, and he eventually handed over the reins to him. I can see that happening with Bogut, but I don't think it's going to happen for a while. So, yeah, Goorjian will definitely be back next year if he wants the position.
Totally agree with you. And the Kings are probably going to win it all. He's going to want to come back and go for back-to-backs, right? Yeah, you agreeing with me, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like that. All right, Adelaide 36. This is a really interesting one because a lot has come out in the media recently, Robbie, about unrest with the coach. Usually, actually, most of it has been coming from Andrew Bogut's mouth, but where there's smoke, there is fire, brother. You know what I'm saying? So, my question to you is: I know you're high on Mike Kelly, and I actually am higher than a lot of people.
Wells.
Sorry, Mike Wells. My apology. My apologies. Mike Wells, right? So talk to me about Mike Wells. Will Mike Wells be back?
I think he will be back,
season?
yeah. I mean, look, it might depend. I mean, imagine if they were to fizzle out and, get bounced basically in straight sets in the finals. I don't think that will happen with the talent around him. So, no, I think he'll be back next year.
Yeah, I'm going to say anything short
of... It is
of
Adelaide, of course, so they do like changing their coaches.
Anything short of a championship and he's not coming back. That's my opinion, I think, right?
Yeah,
so, okay, Southeast Melbourne.
Yeah.
Coach King.
100%.
100%, yep. And, I mean... He's taken this ball club to a really, really good place, right? And I think he could be, I think he's already re-upped recently, hasn't he? Or he's negotiating, right? So, okay, your boy JR.
I don't see why not. I think he's done a pretty decent job this year. They've had, every team's had injuries, so I'm not going to blame that. But we've had a little bit of bad luck. We had an initial import that didn't work there. Got someone that's on big money who's been a bit disappointing, who we'll probably talk about later. But I think he's done a decent job. I think he'll be back next year.
Yeah. Now the Red Army, what's their vibe on really at the moment? They're always pretty harsh on him.
Yeah, they seem a bit high on him than they've been in recent years. I mean, maybe they're focusing on JLA's rebounding ability. Maybe that's distracting him on the stuff with John. Really, JLA, by the way, 3 rebounds on the weekend against Sydney. Come on, Woods. Come on. Like the biggest guy on the court, $1 million a year, and you're getting 3 rebounds. Ridiculous. Anyway,
worry more about getting on the glass than you're beefed with Timmy Suarez,
exactly.
right?
That was really poor form. But
right.
I think they're a little bit higher on him than they were originally. He's doing an okay job, I think.
Yeah. Okay, I'm with you, man. I'm going to say yes as well, right? Melbourne United. Now this is an interesting one because Dean Vickerman will not be happy with the performance that his ball club has put in this season after the start they had, and there's also talk about him exploring opportunities in the overseas market, right? So
I think he's got the runs on the board there, Woods. I think he'll be back unless he decides to go. Unless he decides, you know what, maybe I'll try and get some big coin playing in Japan or China or somewhere else like that, maybe. But I think if he wants to come back, the job's there, and I think he deserves it. I think, they've had a bit of a fall from grace from the way the season started, but look, the season's not over yet. They could eventually, make some noise in the finals.
Ooh, it's not looking likely, but okay, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you. Look, I'm going to agree with you and say if he wants it, but I'm going to disagree with you and say he's not going to come back because I don't think he will want it. I think he's going to explore some opportunities overseas now, right?
Yeah,
so I'm going to go no on that one. So Tasmania Jack Jumpers, Scott Roth, he's on contract till the end of next year, right?
Yeah,
fair enough.
Look, he's got that job as long as he wants it. He brought a championship to the island there, so no, he'll be back, and I think he's very much loved down there as well. So he'll be back for sure.
Yeah, I mean he'll see out his contract till the end of next year. Whether he
I say, Woods, under this is where it gets a bit murky.
For sure. But yeah, there is talk that he's going to weigh up the situation after his contract finishes in next year. So let's see what that future may look like in Tasmania without Scott Roth, right? So, okay, let's move on. New Zealand Breakers, Petteri Koppinen, Coach Kopp, all right?
Yeah, I think he's done a good job all in all. They've been decimated by injuries this year. They seem to have been more hard hit than any other team, just with a key range of players there, whether it's their local Kiwi guys or the imports. A couple of imports haven't maybe worked out, but I don't know about him. I think he's a decent coach. Maybe just with that record, maybe they had higher expectations. Does an Ignite Cup pre-season victory on his resume save his job for next year? I don't know. Let's say they finish the season, with a whimper, and maybe they go out and, I guess they can't. Yeah, I suppose Illawarra could pass them, couldn't they? So let's say they end up finishing 8th. Maybe. I don't think his job's guaranteed.
Yeah, I think I'd like to see him back. Like you said, they've got a lot of injuries. They won the preseason. They go to the final of the Ignite Cup, and I think the
Yeah.
players really like him. So
Yeah.
I would stick with him for at least another season. Now, I don't always agree with everything Damon Lowry says, right? But he did say, did you watch overtime yesterday?
Bits of it. I didn't watch
Okay.
the whole thing. Yeah.
So there was an interview shown with JaVale McGee saying that he'd love to come back to Australia next year, right? And then Damon Lowry says, why doesn't he go to New Zealand and play alongside Parker Jackson Cartwright, right? Having a proper point guard to work with, and also moving Sam Menenga to the 4 spot. Now, I don't really mind that. I mean, what do
Yeah.
you think about something like that?
Well, firstly, they could recreate that photo of Muggsy Bogues and Manute Bol together holding that basketball. That'd be pretty cool with PJC and McGee. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. That wouldn't be a bad move there. I think McGee will probably want to maybe come to Australia more than New Zealand. That would just be my gut feel there. And I'm wondering whether he's sort of wanting that big city thing, whether he tries to get a, Melbourne, or whether Sydney open up that endless checkbook that they've got and try and get him there next year. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, it wouldn't be a bad move if it happened, but I think if he does come back, it might be an Australian-based team. That's just my gut feel.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Okay, Illawarra, they've spoken about this before.
Yeah,
Coach Tatum.
he's gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, he'll always have that championship on his resume, but maybe he'll want to go back home. Maybe with that championship on his resume, it could get him an NBA assistant role, right? And maybe that's where he wants to be, and perhaps see how he goes in the ranks there. But yeah, I'd be very surprised if he was back after this season.
I'm going to agree with you, and I think the Illawarra Hawks team in general need to, reset.
Yeah,
right?
there'll be big changes. Yeah.
Yep. All right, Cairns Taipans. All right, so I know what you're going to say about Adam
Yeah,
Ford.
on your bike. Yeah.
He's got to go.
They need
right?
a change. They 100% need a change. Look, another team with injuries. Maybe the recruitment was a little bit, up and down with some of the players they got. I just think they need a new voice now, Woods. I think he's been there a long time. He's had a lot of, opportunities on a team. Yeah, they haven't had the budget that some of the bigger teams have had, but I think it's probably time for a new voice there. We thought he was gone at this time last year, and he sort of, ended up coming back, but I think they do need to look elsewhere at the moment. Maybe look for a younger, up-and-coming type coach, right?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm with you. And a question to you, would you keep Ford within the Cairns organisation in some sort of capacity?
Maybe not. I feel like he's always going to kind of be looming over there if he's there, sort of thing. Maybe sort of just move on completely from him.
Yep. No. Okay. I'm not in disagreement with you there. All right. The Bullets, the laughing stock of the NBL, right?
Yeah.
What do they need to do? I mean,
I think
D-Mac's not coming back.
I don't think so, which is a shame. I feel sorry for the team that he's picked up, and he's got these hack imports coming out, basically pushing him away, sort of thing. That was a pretty bad thing to see last week. That wasn't, But yeah, I think it's pretty unfortunate that he's ended up controlling this team for the rest of the year. They've had some weird roster decisions, this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if they try and go for an overseas type coach with a bigger name. Look, we've mentioned Trevor Gleeson before. Maybe someone like Weaver. I don't know, but yeah, I think it will be a bit of a change there.
Yep. Okay. Well, thanks for that, Robbie. Well, let's just go back to these 4 teams and reflect on their season. Now that they've been eliminated, I just wanted to get your thoughts on just a couple of points on things that each ball club would need to do to be more competitive next season. So let's start with the Bullets.
So maybe I'll do maybe a little bit of good and bad for them. Look, I firstly think Tyrell Harrison's been really good for them this year. I've liked the fit there. A couple of the moves haven't worked. Like Alex Dukas is a little bit disappointing this year. Again, injuries. Their imports this year just didn't work. Whether it was your boy Jalen Adams or Freeman Liberty, it just hasn't worked for them. So they've got to recruit. They've got to get some better imports there. Maybe look at getting another import that's been around. We know Casey Prather's currently unsigned. I'd be bringing him back for sure.
For sure, yeah.
But look, they just need some stability in that organisation. I think they need stability with the coach. They need to bring some some good guys there to that team. Give some guys that are going to set an example and some leaders and stuff there. But I think they're in a big hole to come out of there. 6-26. That's just a brutal record.
Haven't won. I can't remember the last time they won a game, to be honest, bro.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And to be fair, you touched on one word there: leaders. They need leaders within the front office, the coaching staff, and the locker room, right?
For sure. Yeah.
I'm with you. All right, the Taipans.
Look, I like some of the players in this team. I reckon it's going to be hard for him to bring Sam Wardenberg back next season. I could see the Breakers making a big offer at him, especially if Sam Meninga does get another offer. That seems like a like-for-like replacement almost there. I mean, look, we know my boy Jack McVeigh's back. I think we're going to talk about that one later. Yeah, it's a tough one with them. They try and do the best that they can. They did have more money to spend this year, and they got guys like Rain Smith, who I think has got some promise there, and they've got to make sure that they try and feature him a little bit more when he's healthy next season. But I think, like we said, with the coaching thing, just a bit of a clean start with them, a new coaching staff, just some new voices there, and we know they're a popular team in the community and everything, and let's hope they can play a bit of a better style next year and get the fans excited.
For sure. And Robbie, in the last 5 to 10 years, when the Cairns Taipans have made it to the postseason and have had competitive teams on the floor, what have they done really well?
Well, imports, right?
Recruited, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Got guys before people knew who they were, and that have ended up being really good imports. So they need to go back to the drawing board for that. They need to go to those summer leagues, look at those guys that are kind of on the fringes of teams, and give them a go.
And would you consider, if Andrew Andrews wants to come back, to bring him back?
Look, he needs to cut down his turnovers, there's no doubt about it. But look, he's got some big balls. He's had some big moments there. He seems to, fire up in the last quarter and stuff. So I don't mind him. I think you'd maybe look to get someone a bit younger, but I know they've gone down that path before where they like the veteran sort of, point guard there. So look, I don't think it's the worst move if they were to bring him back.
Yeah, and if not, maybe some other team around the league looks at him as like
maybe.
a third import, right?
Yeah, so, maybe.
Okay, let's move on. Illawarra Hawks, we just touched on it, right? A complete reset's required. You feel like they're going to get a new coach. I think I'm going to let you take it away, but one thing they really need to do is get a proper point guard. Trey Kell was the point guard on that team, right?
Yeah.
Now, whatever they've done this year with Dave O'Hickey and whatnot, it just hasn't worked either, has
There's been a lot of talk about the Dave O'Hickey thing, right? Is he more suited as a six-man? Do you want him running the team? I don't know. I'm probably still, the jury's out a little bit there. We know how good he was in the finals last year. I do like the ability that he can bring off, his play off the bench there, pushing the tempo, playing against second units and playing at the end of games. So that's something they've got to work out. He's obviously an important part of the team. I think Tyler Harvey is a local player next year. Is going to be big for him.
No, he's not a local next year.
So still not next year, is he? Okay.
No, he's going to have to wait till the year after.
Really?
Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a strange one, isn't it? All right, so we'll forget that. But yeah, they probably just need to get their recruiting a little bit right. They were another team like Perth that probably didn't get that right with their guard to start the year off there. And maybe they need to make some calls there. There's some guys that have been there a long time that have got rings now. Guys like Greeter, guys like Samson Froling. Do you look at maybe a bit of a rebuild and move on from those guys and get a little bit younger? I know we say younger. Samson Froling's probably still going to win that whatever that award's called, the Young Player Award sort of thing. But I don't know whether they try and. But you know what it's like, Woods, when you've got that championship there. We see this in all sorts of sports. Maybe you do hold on to people a little bit too long because they help you win a championship. So maybe for all what we're talking about, they bring back a similar team next year, maybe just with a new coach and tweak.
Yeah, Robbie, and I think what I do is like Tyler Harvey's going to be an import. I mentioned getting a point guard and maybe getting a Gary Clark type to put alongside Australian talent, right? Yeah. That's one thing you can do is recruit well in those two import positions, right? Because QJ Peterson and JaVale McGee, as good as individual players as they are, they've not really fitted into the system that was bringing them so much success in their premiership year. They had to change the way they played as a ball club, and that's impacted them, right?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, and the Breakers, we touched on it. If Sam Menenga, you just mentioned, if Sam Menenga isn't able to be re-signed, maybe he gets opportunities overseas and whatnot, right? You think that they take a crack at another New Zealander in Sam Wardenberg?
Look, you've got to get Wardenberg or someone like Yanni Wetzel on the phone and try and sort of get one of those guys. I mean, imagine if they could get both of those. I know that might be hard given their salary expectations. That would be a really good coup for them. But look, we know it all starts with PJC and he's such an important player there. But I think maybe they've been a little bit unlucky, like we said this year. They didn't quite nail their import spots. They've had a few longer term injuries there. But I'm probably a bit more confident of those with all the four we've spoken to. I think there is some pieces there and I think they can... maybe just with a couple of tweaks there, they could be right up there again next season.
Yeah, I agree with you, right? Okay, cool. Thanks for that, Robbie. Last round of the season. So let's just do some quick predictions, shall we? Just bring up that slide. All right, so round kicks off tomorrow with the Jack Jumpers versus the Hawks. Who you got?
Yeah, so at the time of recording, Tuesday the 17th of February, so that first game is a Wednesday night, is it this week?
Yep,
That's an interesting
it is.
one.
It is, yep.
Yeah, I'll say Illawarra finish off with another win away from home there.
Yep, thanks, Robbie. I'm going to go Illawarra as well. Now, it must be said that no doubles this week, everyone's playing singles, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Breakers versus Taipans Thursday night at 5:30, New Zealand's last home game.
Breakers should do the business in that one, yeah.
Yep. We've got the throwdown. Now, a lot of implications here, right? Because firstly, give me a prediction here.
It's a bit of a coin toss. I'm going to say United.
Yep.
Get this one, yeah.
Yep. Then Bullets versus Kings.
Kings by at least 20, maybe 30.
Yep. And then finally, 36ers versus Wildcats. Well,
This is a
wait just for a second here, right? Because did you see the press conference with Matt McQuaid and JR, right? Matty, shout out to you. He asked John Willie a question about that last game. Now, go and listen to it. Right? But basically, like, the Wildcats can potentially, control who they play in that fourth and third playoff game, depending on the result of that game. So, my question to you is there a chance that you just rest your guys? Like, who was out this week? Windler was out. Henschel was out.
Yeah.
To get a better matchup, a more favorable matchup. I mean,
yeah, it's a tough one, isn't it? I know coaches probably wouldn't like to publicly talk about those sort of things, but I'm sure there's been discussions on maybe who their preferred matchup would be, who they've had success against. We know they've had some pretty good games against South East Melbourne this year. They did beat them away from home anyway, so I don't know. It's a tough one to consider there. And yeah, Perth just need to get a little bit more healthy for that last game. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see the approach. And why is there no Saturday night game, Woods? Why are we going from Friday to Sunday there?
Because there's no more games left. That is the Ignite Cup final we got.
Ah, right. Okay,
right?
Gotcha.
So those 5 games are the 10 teams all playing, and then you've got the Ignite Cup
So they've done a Wednesday night game all year, but then they play the final on a Sunday. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Obviously, that's in the Gold Coast. Want to sell tickets for Sunday.
Well, do Adelaide maybe think about resting some players and try and focus on that one to get a bit of a money windfall there in that game? It's hard to say, isn't
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So a lot of permutations, and we'll know what it looks like. There's a bit of a break after this, I think.
There is a fever break, which is a little bit annoying, but yeah, that's the way they do it.
All right. Well, thanks, Robbie. Looking forward to it. It's been a great season, man. I've loved talking NBL with you every week, and
sure.
It's been great. So looking forward to the postseason. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's jump into some true or false, and we'll get out of here. All right, buddy?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. Let's do it. Okay. So first question: It is in the Detroit Pistons' best interest to get Isaiah Stewart some help with his anger management issues.
My boy Beef Stew Woods, I'm going to say false. I honestly think at this point, this is what Beef Stew is, right? This is the guy he is. He wants to protect his teammates. He's a loose cannon. But, geez, you wouldn't mind having him on your team, right? Obviously, probably not at the moment because he's missing 6 games. But, yeah, look, I don't think they're really going to change him much at this stage, even though he is still a young guy. He was another guy that was in that Rising Stars game that I said I watched. It was only 4 years ago. But, no, I think it is what he is. I'll say false on that one.
I will too, but I've just got to preface that by saying just be a little bit smarter. Don't run off the bench and do things. You can still back up your teammates and whatnot and make some smarter decisions because, they need him out there on the floor. He's such an important part of what they're doing in Detroit. So, just be a bit smart about it, bro. That's all. Okay, second question. Dash Daniels will come back for another season in the Next Stars program before declaring for the NBA draft.
I'm going to say true, and I really hope it's a true, Woods. He's really sliding down draft boards. He clearly needs another season in the NBL. Whether Melbourne was the best fit for him, I'm not totally sure on that one there, but he's had some opportunities there, and he's got a lot of things in his game he needs to work on there. So, look, he could come out next year, and he might end up being, a late first round, early to mid-second round pick, but I think if he comes back for another season and just improves, works on some of those things on the off-season, is prepared to listen to coaches and work on his game, I think that's probably the best move for him, man.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you, man. Like, very raw. Come back. I think he's down to 55 or something. I checked the other day, right? So, doesn't look like he's going to get drafted.
No, not great.
I agree with you. All right. Okay, so this is a really interesting one. So I was talking to the boys from KO Sports, Drew and Jimmy, right? 2 great friends of the show, Robbie. Shout out to both you guys and thanks for the contributions, both of you. So Drew sits on one side of the fence and he said to me, Robbie, I like that Jack McVeigh re-signed in Cairns. They need an Aussie marquee. It balances the league out. It would have been shit if he went back to Adelaide or even went to Melbourne. Although I wouldn't have minded if he went back to the JJs. Okay? You got that? And then on the other side of the fence, Jimmy said, let me preface this by saying Jack is my favorite player in the NBL outside of the Sydney Kings. So I really want him to do well. But I just don't think Cairns is helping him. They're a developmental club, and he's past that point. Okay? So my question to you, Robert, is true or false? Jack McVeigh made the correct decision by re-signing with Cairns.
I'm going to go with true on that one. So, as the now infamous Puff Daddy once said, Woods, it's all about the Benjamins, baby. So, he clearly got a deal that was probably too good to refuse. He probably likes the lifestyle there. I don't think he's that real city type guy. We've seen him play in smaller places, smaller markets like, Adelaide, not that small, but you know what I mean, right? And then playing on the island there. So, I think it's it's a deal that's pretty good. And he didn't want to not take it there. As I mentioned earlier with Cairns, I hope they do maybe make a coaching change, and with some better luck with injuries and maybe some better recruitment, who knows? Maybe they are a playoff or a playing team next season. So I'll say true.
I'm going to say true, and I'm going to say it with exactly what you just mentioned. That get him a new coach, and let's
Are you going to quote Puff Daddy as well? Or?
I'm not going to quote Puff Daddy. Not in 2026, right. Man.
Sure.
Okay, but yeah. So I would actually, surround him with some nice talent, imports, Australian talent, and a new coach, and give him a fresh start next year with the training camp. Yeah. Sure. And then he's had some health issues this year as well, so hopefully he can stay healthy for most of the next season. And with a new nucleus around him, I think Cairns could be successful. Yeah. All right, cool. Let's move on. Finally, and this is one that, like, look, I feel like this guy gets slept on a bit. So maybe I'm wrong, but my question to you is this, Robbie. We do not appreciate or speak about how good Tyrese Maxey is enough.
I mean, I'll maybe say true on that one, Woods, but then also noting that he did play in that All-Star game yesterday, right? So he is someone that's, getting the respect of his peers, getting the respect of coaches and everything else like that. So, I don't know. I think he's probably getting enough credit. Look, he's a really fun player to watch. There's no doubt about that. He's got to be one of the quickest guys in the NBA at the moment. So, I'd say true. But, look, he's still probably getting the props that he deserves there. And I know it's someone that we both like. I could see you getting a Tyrese Maxey jersey and rocking one of those, right?
Yeah, I love Tyrese Maxey, man. And maybe I'm just tripping because I was at actually Jimmy's Bucks party on the weekend, and I asked that question to a lot of guys at the party who followed basketball. They said, nah, man, he gets his flowers, right? Yeah. Maybe it's just me focusing elsewhere, but
maybe.
I'm a big fan of his, man.
Yeah. Nice.
And as you said, Philly's on the come up, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right, man. Thanks for that. Great show. Nice to chop it up with you. As always, do you want to take the audience out with where we can be found and all that jazz?
You betcha, mate. So as Woody said at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll be followed on X at Throwback Hoops. So maybe, Woods, maybe you can get the jerseys out from last week tonight, and then I'll get this up, tomorrow. Maybe if you've got time to do it tonight. Email address, throwbackhoopspodcast@gmail.com. If you've got any feedback, if you've got any jersey requests, if you want to see a Rashad McCants jersey or some random Darren O'Shea Blaylock jersey that Woods is wearing, so just send us some suggestions there. And Patreon, we mention it every week. If those listeners want to pledge us a couple of dollars a month, it would really help us with all the costs associated with bringing this podcast. And shout out from Lou Hudson.
Awesome, man. I got to say, one of my favorite cards you've ever brought out, right?
Giant card, so big.
Yeah. All right, man. Any final thoughts?
Well, look, exciting times, right? We've got a bit of a dull week, don't we, with sort of no NBA back until Friday our time here. But what a big week of NBL we've got. It's just all about positions now. It's a shame it's there's not the top six is already settled with a round to go, but it's all about positions. We get the week off with the FIBA break, and then we've got some really exciting play in and playoff basketball, which I can't wait for.
Yeah, and we might just get a chance of going to a playoff game. Sydney versus
There's
Perth,
a chance, right? I was thinking
which
that.
we haven't done ever.
Yeah.
That's friends.
True.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. So from Robbie, myself, and the whole team at TBH, until next week, peace out.